Okay, it is now 6 o'clock, so I am calling the meeting to order. Let's start with our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Brad?
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
Here.
Mrs. Cotterman,
Here.
Mr. Mosier,
Here.
Miss Amy Walker,
Here.
Mr. Wigton.
Here. Next, we need a motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, hold on a sec. So that was
Melissa motioned.
Melissa,
And was it
Mary second.
and who seconded?
Mary?
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I can't see you. I can only hear you, and this echoes.
All right, I'll back up.
Oh, you're fine. It's good.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
Four.
Mrs. Cotterman,
4.
Mr. Mosier,
4.
Miss Amy Walker,
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. D, approval of the previous board meeting minutes. I need a motion.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Miss Amy Walker,
4.
Mr. Mosier,
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
Four.
Mrs. Cotterman,
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. The next item is recognition of visitors, and it's been brought to my attention that the recognition of visitors section of the agenda is for public participation on agenda items only. So beginning with the regular meeting in August, only agenda items may be addressed in this portion of the agenda. Items that are not on the agenda can be addressed by the public during the visitor comment section near the end of the agenda. So I wanted to make that clear to everyone. We have no visitors tonight that I see. So we will move on to committee reports. Anything with the legislative committee?
No report.
Okay. Athletic Board of Control. We have minutes up here. Anything you want to? Oh, yeah.
Put it at 10.
Doug was not able to make that meeting due to a previous meeting. There really was nothing outstanding in that. They're doing well with things, with being able to have school last year. Student representative comments, we have none. Facilities report, we'll wait for Steve when he gives his presentation tonight. Board policy.
No report.
Okay. Student achievement.
Well, there's not a whole lot to report since students aren't in the building. But I did get that at South, fourth graders' average math score was 714, which is 14 points higher than what the state deems proficient. Career Tech had 5 students that graduated from the cosmetology program who obtained their state board after school ended. The high school had improvement in test results for ELA, Algebra 1, Geometry, American History, and Government. So they're excited and going to focus some on science this year. And then the middle school just wanted me to remind everybody that there is the student learning over the summer to encourage student learning. They have an iReady learning criteria listed on the building website. And if students complete that, they'll receive a free 1-hour altitude park pass when they return in August. And they can complete and log that work until August 7th. And then also, just a reminder that on August 5th through August 7th is the tax-free sales tax holiday for school supplies. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Superintendent's update.
Very busy this summer. Steve and his crew of custodians and maintenance folks are very busy in the buildings, getting them prepared inside and out for the upcoming school year. And Mr. Barr and his technicians are, as you're well aware, we have increased our technology and devices significantly over the last couple years, so they're very busy preparing those devices and getting everything ready for the school year. Mr. Yost getting the buses ready to roll, and probably the biggest thing that has transpired over in the last couple months is the amount of hiring that our principals have had to do as far as teaching positions. And I think this number's correct, but I think we've hired for 27 positions, teaching positions across the district. And we have lost some very, very good teachers. Those will be difficult losses. However, we feel very good about those new employees that we have hired, and they have some very big shoes to fill. So we are very excited about next school year, both academically and extracurricularly, and look forward to August 18th.
And we're not the only district that's losing teachers.
No,
Turnover is really big.
I think that's everywhere, and we did an exit survey with our teachers, and some have responded to that, some have not, but many of those who have responded to that, the big reason for them leaving is to teach closer to home. And, because there are those positions open in other districts that typically haven't been available, that has created a lot of movement.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have our presentations. So, Mike Yost, you're up.
Okay. All right, I'll make this short. I don't have a slideshow like the others, but talk about last year. Last year, we traveled approximately 243,000 miles safely doing our daily routes as well as field trips. We started the year with masks. It was nice to not need them later in the year. It was, however, a challenging year, but our team of drivers really came through. While many of the surrounding districts struggled to cover routes, we actually fared pretty well. I think we just had maybe 3-4 days that we had to delay a route 15 minutes. That was pretty good. This year, each year our parents request transportation by final forms, and I'm working to route all the students. I have well over half done already, and when my secretary comes in next week, we should be done sometime next week with all of them. We'll be sending postcards out to all the parents to let them know their students' details on what bus and that sort of thing. Anyone who will not get a card will be asked to call the bus garage and get transportation set up. As is always the case for students open enrolling, we ask students to transport their students for the first 3 weeks or so. This is just so we get a good handle of the students that we have, so we make sure our buses we can adjust the loads a little bit and accommodate for them. So they'll usually call about September 15th or so. That's what I've been telling them. We ordered 4 new buses this year using grant money from the school bus purchase program as well as ESSER funds. The hope was to have them by the start of the school year, but unfortunately, due to supply issues, they will not be available. The garage is working hard to have the buses we do have ready when the students return. So, and that's going real well. Patrol's coming in next week, and we should hopefully get pretty much all of them done by the time we got like 2/3 of them done now. All right. Any questions?
No?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Chris.
I do have a slideshow, or a PowerPoint, I guess, is what we call it now. Just some stuff to go over with you guys. Just a review from last year, that we have a work order generator system through Public School Works, and we executed 559 work orders. And that's not everything. Sometimes principals make requests, or something happens at the spur of the moment, and I have to have the guys look at things. But that's gives you a good idea about how busy they were. An overview of our district: we have 7 different sites, 6 school buildings, 11 support buildings, and 163 acres of land that we manage. And there's some pictures of the guys doing various jobs around the district. Big emphasis this summer, we had more projects going this summer than I think I've ever had in my 15 years here. The most daunting one has been the air conditioning project for the different school buildings, and it's going well. It is a little bit slower than what we had anticipated, not because of material problems, but really the biggest issue now, and a lot of places are seeing this, is personnel problems. So a lot of the places, like they had planned on having 6 or 8 people on site doing the work, and they've only been able to give us half or 2/3 of that number. But the project, just as an overview, was put in place and using ESSER funds because it will increase the airflow and air filtration in the buildings. It will supply air conditioning to all the elementary school classrooms, and it will be a supplemental heating source for the majority of the winter. When it gets to a certain temperature, they don't work very well, so we'll have to go back to just the boiler heat. The design, we started this in November, and all the equipment is supplied by Carrier. We feel really good about that, and we've got some good contractors helping us. Like I say, we're making a big push for it. Right now, I checked today. Tomorrow we have our official weekly meeting, and looks like Mifflin's and Eastview are on track to be done before the school year. Madison South is going to be close, and the high school will be lagging behind a little bit after that. Excuse me. So starting at the high school, there was 179 work orders completed at the high school. That building, I'm sure most of you are aware, was constructed. The primary building was constructed in 1962, and then in 1975, the then vocational wing was put in place, which is now Career Tech. The total square footage of the building is 225,000 square feet, and it sits on a property that is 59.1 acres. Some of the projects we did last year was we replaced, not refurbished, but completely replaced the roof above the main office section of the building. We did landscaping in our courtyard, and that's part of a process that we're trying to do in the next few years, is really completely change that and make it a nice place for our students and our staff. We did $25,000 in asphalt repairs. We have assisted with the renovation of the food power lab and the cosmetology lab. We replaced one of the 4 main sanitary drain runs. That's one of the problems we're starting to see with the age of this building, is a lot of the drains, whether they be sanitary drains or domestic water drains, they were made of galvanized steel, and it has a recommended lifespan of about 50 years. So you can see, with the building being 60 years old, some of that's just rotting underneath the building. So we're getting into some more substantial repairs when we have to make them to the plumbing of the building. We also added a large handicap accessibility restroom. We converted what used to be originally was a coat closet when the school was built, then it was a weight room, I think, when I went to school there, and now it's a large handicap restroom. That's been really ideal for the kids and the staff that need that. This year coming up, as I spoke to before, we're going to put air conditioning in the cafeteria, and then 9 of the classrooms in what we call the D hall, and those are rooms that have no windows. So without that, they've never had any real ability to get any air circulation. We're going to replace the front entry doors and also the access system there, and change the controls around to provide a higher level of security into the building. We're going to rekey the entire building and put it on a master key system, and that is underway right now. We also have plans are with the Richland County Building Codes Department, waiting for their approval so we can get construction started on turning that cafeteria space into a lockdown space. So the way that will look is there'll be a series of doors there that will be open throughout the day, but then whenever one of the 2 main panic buttons are hit in the building, which would send us into lockdown, those doors would automatically close and lock. And so those kids would have a secure place. As it is now, and sometimes there might be 300 kids in that space, they have to all run to the gym or go to different places around the school to where they would be locked in there, and then they could get out of the building through the kitchen and ramble-in entrances if necessary. We also plan on using ESSER funds to replace the large wall of windows that are the original 1962 windows in the cafeteria as you walk by there. They're very thin and outdated, and they just need replaced, so.
What are you going to replace them with? Is it,
So what we plan on doing is basically working within the structure that's there. It makes it less expensive. And that's really just designed like a huge storefront. So each one of those windows is actually a bay that's about 4.5 feet wide and 12 feet tall. And those will come out, and the main structure will stay in place. And we'll replace them with 4-foot tall panels. And then we'll go with, double insulated, low-E glass, tinted glass on the upper part of it. And we'll also have some operable windows there,
you're
too.
not going to lose all of the natural outside?
No. It won't be probably any different than what it was before as far as how much light can get in. We're also putting in a rolling steel overhead door there so that we can get equipment in and do some more work in that courtyard area that we really want to do, but we can't now because the largest door opening is only 31 inches.
Right.
So we're going to take advantage of that. The middle school was built in 2013. It's hard to believe this will be in its 9th year. At some point this year, total square footage is 169,000 square feet, and it sits on 19.9 acres. Of course, with a newer building, not quite as much work orders completed here. Also, some of the projects that we did is seal and restripe the asphalt. We replaced the main concrete slab out in front of the Gray Street entrance, and we are starting to see some problems with some of the individual HVAC controls in the classrooms. So we've been updating those as they fail. Plan for next year, we're doing a major rework on the HVAC control systems. They are Honeywell controls. They're not supported by Honeywell anymore. So they've kind of forced us into making that update. We also have some concrete repairs that we're going to do at the bus entrance, the east side of the building. Madison South was constructed in 1965. Total square footage is 89,000 square feet, and it sits on 40 acres of land out there. 112 work orders were completed. We did a roof restoration of the GPAR area, multiple large plumbing repairs in the building. Same problem as with the high school. We're starting to see some of those larger repairs being needed. We replaced the main well pump went out on it, and we also installed variable frequency drive motor controls on the wells to actually work the new pump a lot less and should give us a more extended life and save us energy costs as well. Plan for next year is the air conditioning project, of course, there we've talked about. The replacement of, we're going to attempt to replace the main playground set, which is behind the building. It's a large structure there. And then we did a major roof restoration here where we're actually doing, it's going on right now and finishing up. We replaced about 50% of the building roof. And the next slide, I can show you the sections there. So everything's in red with the red lettering is what we've done this year, this summer. And you can see that will make that entire roof would be, the next section that need to be replaced would be that smallest sections between the two large bodies, and we still have another 8 years for that. Everything else is at least 10 years of warranty. So we'll be good with our roof there. And then this just gives you an idea. The top slide, the top two slides are a long shot and a close-up of what the roof looked like after 12 years was the last time it was restored. And then on the bottom left, you can see that's with the new membrane down, the new asphalt down. And on the right, you can see they've even done the aluminum coat on part of that roof. So they're just finishing up the aluminum coat now. Eastview Elementary School was constructed in 1965. It's 43,500 square feet, and it sits on 18 acres. We had 52 work orders from Eastview this year. Some of the bigger things was a new water heater. The playground mulch was completely resurfaced. We added handicap parking spaces and signage. We actually poured a huge pad at the front of the school for handicap parking. And then we added handicap ramps to get into the main entrance of the building that was not there before. There were steps going into the building. We also put up a new building sign this year. Plan for this year, we're remodeling one of the locker rooms and turning it into a coach's office. The air conditioning that we've already spoke about. New electrical transformer for the building power that was necessary for the air conditioning that we're adding. That equipment, and it was also something that was probably needed anyways. So we're getting that done at this time also. We're doing some landscaping improvements in the front of the building. Mifflin, that school was constructed in 1949, 1961, and 1980. Total square footage is 37,900 square feet, and it sits on 10 acres of land. 74 work orders at Mifflin. We replaced both main well pump drives. We replaced the well pump also, which is a pretty big deal. We actually caught it before it failed, which was nice. We didn't have to lose any school over that. We repaired a lot of asphalt on the playground, and we added access control to the playground doors so that they can fob in and out and it can stay in lockdown all day long. This year, we're moving the kindergarten classrooms from the annex and everything that comes with that into the main building, and there's a lot that comes with it. If you're familiar with kindergarten teachers, they have a lot of stuff. We're the air conditioning project that we already talked about, then we also have a large water leak that we're trying to track down in that 1949 section of the basement. I think it might be a fractured roof drain, and it's just coming through, and whenever we get a large rain, we get about an inch of water down in the basement, so we have to dig into that and figure that out. Lincoln Heights, you're all familiar with that building. It was a district school. We sold it in the 90s, and we bought it back a couple years ago. It was constructed in 1948. It's 28,431 square feet, and it sits on 3.2 acres. 64 work orders at Lincoln Heights. We did a handicap ramp in the front, again, working on ADA compliance. We replaced flooring in one of the class restrooms. We repaired the front entry. We did some major boiler repairs, replaced the boiler pump. And plan for this year is we're trying to figure out how we can install a second boiler for redundancy and for emergencies, because the boiler, steam boilers in there now is getting pretty old, and we need to make sure we have some kind of contingency plan. We're also updating the closed circuit camera system there, adding some cameras and putting in the ability to, Mr. Peterson and myself will be able to see it from anywhere in the district where we have the software. We'll be able to see what's going on in that building. Also, the primary reason for that is if there needs to be a response for law enforcement, they can pull up and look at our cameras and dial in and see everything that's going on in there. We're also rekeying that building, all the classrooms, and we are working on getting an automated access system for their latchkey program, which is housed at Madison South and Eastview, so that parents can come up and just punch a code in and gain access to the buildings. And they can keep the doors locked otherwise. Lastly, the athletic venues. We had 22 work orders performed with athletics. We have a lot that we're doing this year and a lot that we're really looking toward doing next year. Last year, we replaced a large section of the main stadium sanitary line. It was causing some problems, especially during football games. We removed 300 feet of damaged fence and replaced it with large parking blocks because we couldn't keep kids from parking up against the fence. And we were replacing it about every 6 or 7 years, so we think we've come up with a better fix this time. We just, along with the help of our boosters, purchased a new baseball and softball groomer, which will help out those fields tremendously. And then we also used ESSER money to buy a new utility vehicle to pull that groomer. That's all being done to replace a Toro, which was a great piece of equipment, but it was a little over 30 years old, and it just was completely breaking down all the time. We also had our artificial turf, which is on its 8th year of play. We had it professionally, they come out and inspected it, and this year we had some seam work repaired, and we had it professionally sanitized. Plan for this year is to repair the lights at the soccer field. We have one pole that wasn't working at all at the end of last year because of a rodent damage, and we figured out how to keep that from happening. But unfortunately, we need to get a big bucket truck in, and we've done a lot of the work, got it repaired. Now we have about a dozen lamps that need replaced and all of the lighting there. We're installing a new discus and shot put pad, and we've got that pad in now. We're just waiting on the fencing and some of the other things, and then it'll be operational, hopefully in the next couple weeks. What we're looking forward to doing, and we'll have proposals for the board eventually, is looking at enhancing and augmenting our handicap bleacher access. Currently, we have 3 spots, and that's not close to what we should have. So we've got some people giving us quotes on that stuff, and tentatively right now we're looking at about $75,000 to $80,000 to do that. But we're looking to get some other vendors involved, and it'll go through the bidding process, so hopefully we can get that number down some. The tennis courts that we had done not too long ago have started to crack, and we've had lots of people in to look at that. And really, the bottom line is, they say asphalt's like concrete. It does two things: it gets hard and it cracks. So it's come time to start looking at. We did some repairs on this summer. Next year, we'll probably do a more extensive repair with. There's a crack fill system that's well used, and we'll be looking toward getting that done. And then either this year, next summer, or the summer after that, we're due to have our running track resurfaced. We had it completely removed and reinstalled. This is just where they come in and put more material in and retack it and add to that surface, because as the kids run on it, they start getting little grooves, and then you start losing more material. And the people who put our track in gave us an estimate for $80,000 for that. And that's all I have. Any questions?
No small task.
Yeah,
A few things.
we're going to be busy
Yeah.
and have been.
Just like to thank both Steve and Mike. They did a great job this past year and had some real challenges, especially with personnel, and really did a great job of working through those challenges and keeping things running smoothly.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Okay, we have no donations to approve, so treasurer's report, a motion to accept,
I'll second.
discussion. Anything you would like to share, Brad?
Okay, well, the first thing is the May financial report. I went over it in June, so if you don't mind, I kind of won't talk about the May one anymore. The June financial report, if you look at the revenues, the very first page, obviously, the first thing that jumps out to you is, whoa, what happened? Why is there so much less this June than there was last June? But that's mainly because of, if you remember in May, I said we got our homestead and rollback a month early. So, if you look at the May cash, true days cash on hand, it's really high compared to all the other months. That's because, May we got $633,000 in homestead and rollback that we typically get in June. So fiscal year 21, we got it in June. Fiscal year 22, we got it in May. So that's why the revenues are quite a bit different there. Expenditures, it's the same sort of explainable anomaly. Expenditures, they look a lot higher this year than they were last June, and that's because last June the district took a premium moratorium on their health insurance, and that's about a $570,000 savings in a month. We didn't take a premium moratorium this June, so that's why there's the difference in expenditures. If you look, about 85% of the district's expenditures are on salaries and bennies. The other 15 is in between purchase service and supplies and capital outlay. On the next page is just your cash reconciliation, so it balanced for the month. And then, so 6 and 7 are the same. I'm going to go all the way back to page 8 and 9 or something that is on this that won't be on any other except for the June. I called it an annual analysis just because it's snapshot of fiscal year. Page 8 is basically the forecast and the variance. If you look and see what actually happened in the green compared to what was predicted to happen in October in the yellow and what was predicted to happen in May, both October and May forecasts were within 1% of accuracy. So I guess the good news is we were 99% accurate. The bad news is the forecast said we were going to spend $1.5 million more than we brought in, and we spent $1.5 million more than we brought in. The forecast was about $8,000 difference in $34 million budget, so it was pretty accurate. That's page 8. Page 9, like I said, that's an annual thing. You can see I broke down, the general fund revenues into the main things that are in the forecast. So you can see where state foundation and real estate are really what drives us is our revenues. And then down below the general fund expenditures, you can see the salaries and the bennies are what drives the expenditures. And then down in the little red at the bottom, it is what, we actually had a loss this year in the general fund because our expenditures exceeded our revenues. And then on the right, those boxes, the top one is just the, snapshot of the general fund. The second one down is our bond fund. Third one down is the adult education. Fourth one down is, all the other funds, excluding 001, 002, and 012, all of them combined. The fourth one down is, fifth one down is all the funds. So, everything from student services, student activities, to athletics, to, the grants. And then the bottom one is just the grants alone. So that's just like a snapshot of the annual of where we ended up and how things looked for the fiscal year. I did update the website, Mr. Peterson asked, as part of the strategic plan. So if anybody says anything to you, yeah, I've updated it, and if you want, I already asked Mr. Peterson if he wanted any changes, and I think he was pretty happy with what's gone so far, but if you guys want to see anything else, just let me know. I had been thinking, right now, it can be a discussion later on, but the financial reports that had been put on before, I went ahead and added all the way up to fiscal year 21, which has already been audited, but it would be it'd be a lot less space and just as convenient for me to put a link to the state auditor's site, because that's where they all come from anyway. That once Julian and Gruba finishes our audit, it gets published to their site, and that's where I got the ones that were, weren't there, so.
Whatever makes it easy for people to find information they're looking for, yeah.
So the way it is now is probably the easiest, because it's just, you click on it and it's right there. That's why I did it that way. It just would make the page less cluttered if I,
Well, that's sometimes helpful when you're trying to find information and it's
okay.
buried in stuff.
Okay.
So if there's a button there, maybe that's a better way to do it.
Okay, so Mr. Peterson and I'll talk, and if that change needs something that he thinks would be great, then I'll listen to you, and we'll go ahead and I'll get that done.
Okay.
Before I give up my time, is there any other questions you guys have?
I don't think so.
Okay, hearing none, Mr. Mosier?
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
4.
Mrs. Cotterman?
4.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mr. Wigton?
4. Okay, item J, and on the addendum, we need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Who's,
Amy.
Amy?
okay, sorry,
Mary will second.
thanks.
Not back far enough.
No,
Discussion?
Just want to honor one of our retirees, Jody Kurtz, the secretary here at the middle school. She is retiring effective September 30th. However, she has already worked her last day. She's got vacation and other things. So she won't be back for any more work days. But she started with the district during the 84-85 school year. Worked 38 years in the district, worked in adult ed, student services, at the old junior high and most currently at the middle school. So just want to congratulate her on her retirement and thank her publicly for all of her work over the years. She wasn't able to be here tonight, but I did want to recognize her.
Okay, roll call, please.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mrs. Cotterman?
4.
Mr. Mosier?
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
4.
Mr. Wigton?
4. That takes us to item K, both on the regular agenda and the addendum. And I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just have a few things to share on a handful of the items. The first item there, that's more of just a reminder. We'll have that as an agenda item at the August meeting to appoint a delegate for the OSBA business meeting and an alternate. Number 4, I do have an update on that. That was to establish flexible requirements for substitute teachers, which we had in place last year. It expired, and so we've tried to get it extended. I tried to get it, I lobbied to have it extended permanently. We didn't get that, but we did get it for the next 2 years. However, the legislature did not tie an emergency clause to it that would make it effective upon the governor's signature. It's not effective until 90 days after the governor's signature, which is September 22nd, which would leave us without this flexibility for the first month of the school year. However, there is a little bit of a loophole that allows us, and this has always been the case, but it's something that we were just made aware of. We can hire those subs conditionally after they apply for their substitute license, as long as we believe that there isn't any reason that they won't get the license. So that is our intention, to be able to have those people in place to start the school year. I'm still waiting to hear back from Kevin Kimmel at Mid-Ohio. They employ all of our substitutes to see if they intend to move that same direction. The meal prices, number 6. When we last had students paying for meals was the 1920 school year prior to COVID. This is a 25-cent increase in each of those prices from that school year, and that was our intention, to raise it 25 cents for the 2021 school year before COVID hit and everybody received free lunches. And I think we will be competitive with the other districts in the area with respect to that increase. Number 9, which is a memorandum of understanding regarding, we only had one viable candidate for our 9 to 12 math position, and by contract, we are only allowed to give new employees 10 years of experience, even if they have more than that. However, so we did agree to a memorandum of understanding with the union to allow us to schedule this candidate at step 12, even though she had 20 years of experience coming in. And number 11, which was going to be a change in dates for the DC trip for the middle schoolers. The reason for the change initially was that the company that's operating the trip for us didn't believe they had the personnel to do it on the dates that were requested. However, so we changed the dates and put it on here. Well, after we did that, the trip company came back to Mr. Muro and said, no, after all, we were able to accommodate your original dates. So that was the reason for removing that item from the agenda. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
4.
Mr. Mosier,
4.
Mrs. Cotterman,
4.
Miss Amy Walker,
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. That takes us up to our last visitors' comments, and I don't see any visitors that look like they're going to talk, so. Next, our regular board meeting is August 31st. Also, Rob, when is opening day?
August 18th for students.
But for opening, are you going to do an opening day?
Oh, yeah, that'll be that Monday, which is the 15th, I believe.
So,
And that'll be at 8 o'clock.
okay, and we are welcome to attend?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. If more than 2 of us attend, do we need to?
No, because we won't be conducting any business or anything.
Okay.
so.
Next, we need a motion to move into an executive session for the purpose of evaluation.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Mosier,
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
4.
Mrs. Cotterman,
4.
Miss Amy Walker,
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. And when we return, there will be no more business, so feel free to not stick around.
I'll move.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Okay, any need for discussion?
Nope. Let's roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Everybody, in favor say aye.
I love it.
Opposed? Okay.
And I need a motion to adjourn?
I'll move. I'll second.
Okay.
Discussion?
Second.
Everyone say aye in favor? Aye. And those opposed?
I am not
No one?
opposed to going home.
And we're done. Did you write down the time?
Not, I wrote down for executive.
Yeah.
It's the same time.
Yeah.
You want some time
Okay.
for those. Man, he made